Tell me why this thing looks like a goddamn tiny tortoise lunchbox car, man. What in the f is this? How does this thing that looks like goddamn Optimus Prime's face just stuck onto the front of a green toaster go from this to that? I don't understand it. I'm just as confused as you are. Hey, what's going on everyone in the Jason Nation? My name is Jason and welcome back to some more Pokemon Sun and Moon news. Today's actually something a little bit unexpected. There was some crazy news that actually dropped this morning, and unfortunately I was asleep and I didn't get to cover right as it came out like I usually try to, but it's all good. Today though, me and the water bottle army have returned to give you guys this update. Alright, so this morning 7 new Pokemon for Sun and Moon dropped, and it was kind of unexpected actually because all out of nowhere, Cerebi just started tweeting out that there was a bunch of new Pokemon confirmed, and then a trailer dropped, and I got all the notifications on my phone, but I got them really early this morning when I was still asleep, and at first they were just coming out as considered leaked Pokemon, so I thought nothing of it, then I went back to sleep, but then later this morning, or earlier this morning rather, they ended up tweeting out a Japanese trailer that showed off all of these guys. So we only have the Japanese names at the minute, but I'm going to show you the 7 new Pokemon in case you haven't seen them yet. And there's some ones that are honestly sort of questionable. But the first guy that we've got here, his name is Drampa. Now with him being a normal dragon type, I don't think that actually adds in any kind of resistance to his typing and will allow him to live hits easier. He's still weak to ice that way, still weak to dragon, still weak to fairy. I'm not sure if that would add in a weakness to fighting as well. I don't think it would because I'm fairly certain that dragon resists it, so I'm pretty sure it would just do normal. But the one cool thing about Drampa that's worth pointing out is I'm fairly certain that this could be this generation's like Noibat, or this is like generations, not pseudo legendary, but one of the like the better legendaries, I guess you, or sorry, not legendaries, better dragon Pokemon, I guess you could say, like the ones that are a lot better, sort of pseudo or near pseudo legendaries, I guess you could call them, but it's not a pseudo, I guess. I'm thinking that this could be like this generation's Noibat, like I said, but I'm not sure if it is like that great of a dragon type, or maybe if it's even better like Gudra or something that is pseudo, or if it's even maybe just like one of the first evolution forms, or maybe this isn't even its fully evolved form yet. So I don't know if this is like Drampa and its final evolution is Drampa and it has 2 stages before it or 1 stage before it, or maybe even if this thing's just like a single standalone Pokemon as it is and it's not like one that evolves. I don't really know. I'm for some reason maybe getting the suspicion that it's actually a standalone non-evolution, or it might be a final form evolution. The only reason why is because this thing looks pretty badass and cool for it to not be its final evolution, but it could be its middle evolution, but I don't know why they would show that, not like the starter evolution in the final one. So I'm thinking it's either a standalone or a final evolution dragon type, or a base evolution dragon type, but this thing doesn't quite look like a base evolution. You guys let me know what you think about that in the comments though. I think he's actually pretty cool, but not my favorite one out of the ones that were revealed. Now this guy right here, we've got Togedemaru, and that is another Japanese name. Again, we only have the Japanese names at the minute, but this guy, he looks like this generation's like Pikachu or Dedenne. He's the electric mouse Pokemon. And this guy is actually a really unique typing. It was one of the typings that, or dual typings actually, that I said should come back, or come in Sun and Moon, because I don't think we've actually had anybody that's this typing before, now that I really think about it. Actually, no, we have had Magneton. That's the one family. Magneton and Magnezone, all those guys, electric steel type. Other than that, I can't think of anybody else. But I was saying that that's a dual typing that needs to come back at Sun and Moon, because honestly, that's one thing now that I'm saying it, we've only seen it literally once, I think. And it's a really interesting typing actually. Regardless, I'll just keep going on about the way he looks. He's honestly the coolest Pokemon that I think has been revealed so far, or one of the the cool base evolutions, I guess you could say, because he's not too over the top with it, and he's not designed weirdly. Like, he kind of is. He sort of reminds me of Pikachu, and Dedenne had like a crossbreed on this one, but he's, again, I think he's one of the cooler ones that's been released so far that it's a base evolution Pokemon, just because he's adorable, and truthfully, I would probably just use this guy as he is. Of course, I'm sure he probably has a pretty cool evolution. Hopefully, it's not one of those things where it's like everyone prefers Pikachu over Raichu, but honestly, I don't know. I think I definitely use this thing like as like a Pachirisu type thing, you know. I'd use him just as him. If he has an evolution, who cares, man? I'm just gonna use Togedemaru, or however you say his name. I'm just gonna use him as he is, man. He's cute as shit. Now this guy, he's also an electric type Pokemon, believe it or not, by the looks of things. But this is actually Vikavolt, and it's an electric bug type. Now that's a really, really cool typing. I don't think we've seen that one before, like ever before. But the one cool thing about this, and I have my predictions, I don't know its ability. I can tell you in a moment because I know Cerebi has it listed. But one cool thing that could be the case with this guy is he could be another one of like this generation's like Yanmega. He kind of reminds me of Yanmega in some slight ways, but I don't know if this is the final evolution to this guy or if this might be one of the base forms, because I don't think this is the final evolution. It might be, I don't know. It just sort of doesn't look like a final evolution Pokemon, but if it is, I was going to even suggest that maybe this thing could get like speed boost as a hidden ability. I'm not sure if that would benefit. I'm not sure if speed is a good thing about, or is like a good stat for this Pokemon, but because they're literally just released, so I have no idea anything about them other than the way they look and the typings and stuff like that. Never mind, they don't actually have the abilities listed, so I could be right. This thing may have speed boost. I really don't know. Probably not, but the only Pokemon that they have the typing listed for is one I've yet to get to, and I'm very excited because he's actually my favorite one that was revealed today. So alright, now this one, this is just meh. Like, you know, it's just this is definitely a base form Pokemon. So this is like kind of cool. This one's typing is actually Bug Fairy. So we got a lot of bug types so far, and we got a couple electric types. It's like a bug and electric, and then an electric and a steel, and then we've got a dragon normal. So some cool dual typings, and I like what I'm seeing so far from this Game Freak. It's actually pretty cool. We've got Cutiefly. Now, with Cutiefly, the one thing I can actually suspect that this thing might become when it's more evolved, I guess you could say, is something that's like a combination of your like standard like flying type. Like basically, imagine this thing, the way I see it anyway, is like if you're comparing Pidgey is like Picky Peck, and this thing is sort of like a Spearow. It's like sort of like a rivaling bird type Pokemon or flying type Pokemon to like the starting route one, I guess you could say. But bear with me on this one. And then it's sort of like a combination of that plus like the main like first route bug types. And the reason why I say this is because if you actually look, it sort of looks like it's trying to represent like a bee or something along those lines, just based on the color scheme. It's sort of like, it's just like a bug or an insect of some sort, but it looks like it kind of has like a beak coming out of it. So it looks like it's also trying to represent like the face of a bird mixed with a bee. I don't know if you guys see that or if I'm absolutely crazy, but like I feel like I'm not the only one that sees that. So maybe it'll become some kind of like bird bee Pokemon or something like that. Or what could be even cooler actually is if it takes the form of something like Floette. What if this is like this generation's like Floette? And the cool thing about that is I could actually maybe imagine this thing becoming some kind of like bird guardian type looking thing. I don't really know, honestly, if it's a fairy type. I'm just trying to think of the most logical thing. Basically, I'm just trying to combine what Florges would look like if it was a bird bee, but I don't really know. That's kind of just my speculation for this. Again, it's just it's one of those standard Pokemon I don't really care about. Now, I was saying a while ago, there's a lot of dual typings that I saw in Gen 1 and Gen 2 as well in a couple previous gens, like I said, but mostly Gen 1 that I said needed to come back. First of all, being the Magnezone one that I pointed out earlier, like the Magneton family, the Electric Steel dual typing. And this is another dual typing that I can't recall actually seeing. There definitely has been, but the most notable Pokemon of this typing I can't recall seeing since Gen 1 were Starmie and Slowbro. This thing is a water psychic type, and what's really interesting about that actually is this thing seems like it'll be a really good special attacker based on the fact that it's a water psychic type, obviously. But I feel like this thing could be like potentially this region's like Sharpedo, I guess, like basically the attack stats of a Sharpedo but put into its special attack, and this thing is like the special variant of Sharpedo. It kind of reminds me like it could be like that, but then again, I don't know this thing's evolved form. If this thing has an evolution, which more than likely it does, I wouldn't be surprised if it did. If this thing does have an evolution, then it could be something even better than that. But I almost just feel like he just because he's a fish Pokemon, I guess that's why it reminds me of Sharpedo. But I for some reason feel like this guy as a standalone Pokemon would actually be really good, and there's just something about it that seems like he might have one more evolution, because if you actually look at him, I had a weird voice crack there. If you actually look at him, he sort of reminds me a little bit of like the way he's like a badass Pokemon that you'll have to train up, because he's not really like the coolest looking. Like he's kind of cool, but he's not at the same time, he's kind of ugly looking. He might have another form or another evolution, like a secondary one, sort of like Feebas to Melodic, where it's sort of like a kind of like an ugly Pokemon. You may not want to use it, but it's totally worth training up to become something even more badass. That's one thing I could see from this Pokemon if it actually became like maybe like not like another serpent, because that might be kind of lame. But then again, what else is a fish gonna be come, I don't know, they have a habit with doing that with Pokemon, but they can maybe make this thing like a giant piranha too. That's also something I was thinking, because this thing is a piranha. You can clearly see it's based off of some type of piranha. I would like to say if this thing does get an evolution and it's not a standalone Pokemon, that it should just become some other type of like water psychic piranha or serpent or eel or something like that. Nothing too far off from that. Maybe like this dude from like the eel dude from Finding Nemo or something like that. Maybe he can become that. I don't really know, honestly. But overall, I can definitely tell you that I'm gonna try out this guy when I first play through Sun and Moon, only because he just looks so unique and cool, and he kind of reminds me of like Alomomola and Love Disc's like distant cousin from the West or some shit. Like, I don't even know, man. He just looks like he plays the part of that. Now this thing, I don't even have words for this. So this thing's name is Charjabug, and judging by his name, you can probably guess this is another bug type, and it's another electric type. A lot of bugs and a lot of electric types. It seems to be a reoccurring theme. But tell me why this thing looks like a goddamn tiny tortoise lunchbox car, man. What in the f is this? How does this thing that looks like goddamn Optimus Prime's face just stuck onto the front of a green toaster go from this to that? I don't understand it. I'm just as confused as you are. But then as we move along to the final Pokemon that was shown off, and this is really, really awesome. It's actually the first one shown in the trailer, but I'm going to show you it last because this ties into something really important. So you guys remember that big theory I made like a week and a half ago? I'll leave a link in the description if you want to check it out. I basically sort of predicted several different things within that story, within that theory video, and one of those things happened to be about Tapu Koko. Now, I'm going to make an update video to that because since then, obviously, this information has come out, and the research I was doing to further try and back up my previous theory, well, that's technically gone to waste now because I was really, really convinced on the fact that Tapu Koko was not a Pokemon or was not a human, and I was going to show you guys my research for that, but I guess it doesn't matter now because it's a Pokemon. So yeah, I can't argue it. It's confirmed now. So basically that's that. But this guy, now here's one thing I don't know. If you didn't actually know what like the importance of Tapu Koko is, or how I even knew about this thing prior to its release, I'll show you. Now, one interesting thing about the Nintendo Treehouse E3 event that happened a couple weeks back is when they showed some new gameplay for Sun and Moon, they talked about a character called Tapu Koko, and it was said that apparently at some point or another there was people talking about like the island's guardians, so people put two and two together and thought that Tapu Koko might be the guardian of the first island that you start on based on how each island has its own Pokemon guardian. Now, the interesting thing about that is I didn't actually think we would be seeing gameplay for this guy or any of these legendaries right away anyway. I didn't think we'd be seeing it until closer to the time of the game's launch. But again, that's okay. I don't actually know if this thing even is a legendary. Again, this might not actually be a legendary Pokemon just because it's a guardian deity of the island. Doesn't necessarily mean it's a legendary, but it more than likely does because that sort of sounds similar to the Three Lake Trio in Pokemon Diamond, Pearl, and Platinum. So if you kind of compare it to it in that aspect, that's what makes the most sense to me. But this guy, he is actually a very interesting typing. When I was saying there's a lot of cool new dual typings, this one isn't new. It's coming back from 6th gen, and it's stealing that like Dedenne ripoff Togedemaru or whatever his name is stealing his thunder here because this guy is the new electric fairy type. That's actually a really, really awesome typing and sort of actually showcases that dual typing that Dedenne never got to fully like, you know, show off itself because I don't think Dedenne was that amazing of a Pokemon, but used correctly, it is absolutely godlike. But under the right circumstances or under the wrong circumstances, it doesn't do the full potential that you'd want it to do. And with that typing, it actually unlocks access to stab on both fairy type moves, obviously, and electric type moves. And the best part about that is they can even introduce some new, like, moves as well. They're definitely introducing new moves that could go alongside with these guardians that maybe, I was thinking about this is something I might talk about in a separate theory, but I was thinking that they might even add in the first ever dual type attacks in Sun and Moon. That's just a theory. and I don't have any solid evidence other than a couple things to base that off of, but I thought that that might be something cool if they decided to add that into Sun and Moon. But yeah, so that's pretty much it for today's news and all that stuff. Just some new Pokemon that came out, kind of just, like, it's not really average information. This is actually a lot of big information, and I wasn't rushing to make a video about it when I got out of bed this morning. I kind of saw the news, I watched the trailer, and I was like, oh, okay, this is pretty cool. But I wasn't rushing to make a video about it because, truthfully, it's not that big of a deal to me personally, but I wanted to deliver the news to you guys, and last time there was Pokemon revealed, I didn't make a video about it, and I figured considering this time there's a nice slew of them, that it would be a great time to do so. So with that said, I think I'm gonna finally get up on out of here because I gotta go and get some stuff done today, and I'm really tired, so I gotta go take a shower and wake myself up. But if you did enjoy today's Pokemon Sun and Moon news video, feel free to leave a thumbs up. I'd greatly appreciate it, and as well as subscribe to the channel if you are new, because we do all kinds of different Sun and Moon content here and stuff. I'm not gonna try and reel you in with all these like business schemes and tell you what I do here. You can go find out for yourself if you really care that much. But with that being said, again, everybody, my name is Jason. Thank you all for watching, and I'll catch you all in the next one.